All right, my name is Natty, and on Twitter I am known as Natty Former MRA, and that's because I used to be a men's rights activist. I'm not a feminist, and I never have been. And I want to talk today about women voting. So, on the internet, in its most simplistic form, the argument tends to go like this: men vote right, and women vote left. And left is bad and right is good. Therefore, if we remove women's voting rights, then we will have a good right-wing government. And I think this argument is a little bit inaccurate and a little bit too black and white and simplistic, because democracy is largely an illusion. We have oligarchs who fund both sides. They're technocratically minded, so they don't really care about right or left. They have other beliefs, and they tend to sponsor politicians who will be voted in and go against everything that we wanted them to do. But if we put all of that information to one side and we take the argument for what it is and say, okay, women tend to be more on the left and men tend to be more on the right, we just need to remember that in America, left and right are defined in certain ways that are not as clearly defined in other countries. So we are talking about the American context here. Although America has successfully exported its culture via imperialism and globalism around the world, so I suppose we can say it's a global trend. There is some data that's come out lately that says that it is. So, yeah, okay, let's go with it. Let's pretend I'm an American woman and I need to vote in the next election. I've got to choose between the Republicans and the Democrats. On the Democrat side, they tend to be more liberal, more feminist, progressive, gender fluid, more socialist leaning, and yet they don't know what a woman is. They really don't want women to have a category anymore, which is very interesting. But they also are viewing women as a utility because they have decided that surrogacy is okay and are promoting it as a viable lifestyle and occupation choice for women, and that women's rights will be taken away as a mother when they have a child for another couple. So they essentially think that women can be rent-a-wombs whilst also simultaneously denying that women exist. I think they also think that men are utilities, but I'll just park that over there because we're talking about women. I also think that Republicans view women as utilities, increasingly so. So on the Republican side, you've got a kind of alliance between capitalists, libertarians, and conservative Christians, and then anyone else who just doesn't want to vote Democrat. And it is kind of dominated by the way the conservative Christians view women. And the libertarians and the capitalists, well, they view everyone as utilities, so, But then conservative Christians, they tend to be more fundamentalist, and they have these really rigid biblical gender role attitude towards women. And actually the theology tends to be that women are saved via being a good submissive helpmeet to her husband. That means she needs to live a trad life and have a quiverful of children. And also, they're pro-life and against divorce. So on the Republican side, if the Christian nationalist movement and this kind of growing attitude, which is also shared with Manosphere and Red Pill, trad life people as well, that women have to live, that's their only choice, really. They have to live under a man, get married, and there isn't really much else for them to do. maybe they could be a prostitute or a sex worker. But, those are their two choices, because the salvation is via being a helpmeet to their husband, right? So there's also a lot of arguments being made about demographic collapse. So then you put these two things together, they're saying, you need to have more children to make up for the demographic collapse that the other side is promoting, the Democrat side. And so women if I were a woman, I would be looking at that sign thinking, if the Christian nationalist movement, controlled by these patriarchal fundamentalist Christians, is successful, I'm probably going to have to be married to one of them, and it could be abusive. And there's not been a good track record of them handling abuse very well, because I'm sorry, men, you don't tend to notice red flags of abusive situations as quickly as women do. I'm sorry, but that's my experience. You can find out about some of these scandals with some very well-known fundamentalist Christian pastors who are promoting some really dodgy stuff when it comes to marriage and women. I know that they would probably want to be quite authoritarian if they won, because they would want to make sure they transformed everything from being left-wing and liberal very quickly. So that could mean that there could be some casualties. Casualties in the sense that things could go from left to right very quickly, and a lot of care and compassion and nuance needed for a transition into a new culture would probably be left behind. So I fail to see how this is attractive to women. Even the women that are looking at the Democrats and saying, I really don't want to be a careerist feminist, or I really don't support the gender fluid narrative or any of the other stuff that they promote. But then they look at the other side and then they're like, but then they're promoting a kind of patriarchal rule that the feminists are saying exists, and the other side are saying, no, it's never existed, but they're promoting that they need to actually manifest it into existence to reset the balance from the other side. And I'm just saying that both sides are looking at women as renter wombs and utilities. And for now, if I had to make a pragmatic choice, I would probably look at the Democrat side and think, well, for now, at least I have the choice to do whatever I like or whatever I think is best on that side. Yeah, I don't want babies to be murdered, but at the same time, I don't want to be in a abusive marriage that I can't get out of, and I don't want to be viewed as emotional and irrational, and I can't make my own decisions and not have any agency. You're kind of putting the American woman in a bit of a bind. I am from the right wing in my viewpoints, and I just cannot believe that the right wing is letting this happen. Stop letting all this misogyny and these really repressive, regressive views of women take over. Like, the red pill and the manosphere are not your friends. And I will go into some long lecture about that. I don't want to. But we are all made in God's image. And in Orthodoxy, women are viewed as the crowning glory of creation. And women are viewed as having certain spiritual gifts that men don't have. And they're supposed to be cherished and protected. And also, their salvation is not beholden to them being a submissive helpmeet to their husband. Of course they need to be good wives to their husbands, but that is not how they achieve salvation. So if you want women not to choose the Democrat side, then perhaps have a think about how you're treating them on the right side, on the Republican side. Otherwise, you're just going to keep making the gap between men and women wider and wider and wider, and none of us want that. Like, none of us want that, do we? So, I don't know. This turned into a bit of a plea at the end, rather than just an explanation. But maybe it will help some of you to rethink how you're viewing women. This doesn't mean that women are innocent and don't have any fault or flaws or anything like that before I get accusations of being gynocentric, etc. But, just we are all made in God's image. We're not supposed to be utilities. We're supposed to be people. We're supposed to love one another. I don't know. Anyway, I will stop now. I was trying to get to 10 minutes and stop, but it's almost at 12 minutes. And happy to chat to you on Twitter about it if you want to. But I do have my own family too, so I'm always around, but God bless, and just stop viewing women as utilities. Women want to be mothers, but if you are telling her that she has to do this and has to do that and be a utility, then she's going to repel from that if she has a good sense of self and love for herself, and also appropriately reads her Bible and is trying to be Christian. She's probably thinking, that doesn't quite say that in my Bible. But yeah, all right, take care.